Let's just, well, welcome back from our break. We're still entertaining or being entertained by Sean Merritt, one of the coolest activists that I know. He's only just now turned 40 years old, and he's already been a board member at the ACLU. He's been a board member for the normal groups and, done so many things for the Second Amendment, for injured veterans, and oh my gosh, all kinds of work for cannabis. Most of this has had some kind of a cannabis contact to it because, well, we live in a cannabis world here in Chester County. So we're back, and Sean, what do you have? What are you thinking about for the future? Where would you like to go from here?
That's an interesting question and one I've had a very, very long time to really think about. I mean, for nearly 20 years, there's not been a day that went by where, when that intense pain hits or when that darkness starts to, you think it's going to swallow you whole. It's those moments you got to find whatever light you can find and try to grab that light and just hold on for dear life, you know, till that light eventually or that darkness subsides and, the pain subsides a little and you can.
It finally passes.
Right, right. But there's not been a day that I didn't sit back and say, okay, if I had my leg, if I had control of my body again, you know, I want to be somewhere on a beach. I miss being, I mean, where I grew up, Chickateg Island, Virginia, it's, we were 10 minutes away from the beach. And
I love it.
actually, we were a lot closer than that because the speed limit there is 25 mile an hour. So the way I drive, I was probably about 2 minutes away from the beach.
I'll tell you
But
what, Reading is the furthest I've ever been away from big
I'm
water.
telling you, me too. I don't know, something in me. I need to be near water, and I mean real water, the ocean, not. And there's nothing wrong with Whiskey Town or Shasta Lake or any of that, but I mean that's just, to me, that's like a stagnant kind of water. I need the ocean. I need the ocean. There's just something so
The
tranquil,
ocean
and
is its own
it is, and
entity.
it's
It
so.
is.
That's my idea of paradise. Just being somewhere where I can go to the beach anytime I want.
Well, it's
And
an energy. You can go to the beach and listen to that water and that rhythm.
mm-hmm.
Whatever rhythm the ocean is carrying, and it just empties you of all the BS.
It sure does.
There's
I'm
no
telling. Yep.
BS that can last beyond a sit on the beach.
No.
And
So
so
yeah,
I agree with you there on that.
I been thinking about where, what beach would I want to go to though, and
That's the next question. Yes.
of course the idea did come up. Do I want to go back home, especially now that Maryland and Virginia they've legalized things there. Um, but I'm the type of person, I don't like doing the same thing over and over again. Really, life is meant to have new experiences, or at least get out there and try it. I know a
you
lot of
know,
people. I know a lot of people who tried to get away young, like I did, that wound up tucking their tail in and going back home. And I was like, if I could ever get away from this island, I don't know if I could. You know, I want to show everybody that I could do it. That I could do something off of here.
yeah,
So
beyond what y'all think. Yeah.
to me, I don't want to say going home would be a defeat because I mean I've got a lot of good memories from home, and I know a lot of really good people. I mean, some the best people I've met in my life, some of the biggest hearts. I mean,
Island
are,
folk.
are, are back home on the island. And I mean, and proof of this is we all got together because of a friend of ours that had passed away 20 years ago. And when I got back on Facebook, I saw that he still didn't have a proper headstone yet. So a bunch of us got together on Messenger, and within 2 days, we had 4.4K $1,000 raised up. Got this guy a headstone, got him a
Oh,
bench.
nice.
That's going to be installed in about another week or so. So, I mean, when I tell you that the people back home are the best people, I mean, salt of the earth people, but they'll give you the shirt off their back. I mean, I miss them. I miss the hell out of them. I mean, there's just something about, your people and the island folk. They are my people. you know.
There you
So
go.
maybe I do need to go home and say hi. But if I'm going to go somewhere and move, at this point, I know what my health limitations are. I know what aggravates it. I know what makes it worse. And with that permanent nerve damage I have, anytime it gets cold, anytime that the weather changes and it's getting ready to rain,
Same
it's
here.
weird.
I can't do winter.
It's weird how it does that to your body though, and to try and explain it to people who don't know it, they're just like, oh, you're full of, you know.
No,
But it
we're
does. I
not.
mean, the cold, the wind, the rain. I mean, it
Yep,
just that change in pressure and everything. It does all kinds of weird tricks to my bones, to my nerves, everything. It gets
yep.
them too agitated. So I'm gonna have to go somewhere where it's about, at least warm all year, but there's also a beach nearby. And I know I told everybody the story about, what led me to Redding, and that was, I came out here first. It was either going to be here or Humboldt, and I had my first bit of medical grade cannabis, across the street from the hotel I was staying at. So I really had a lot of dreams. I want to say the past, definitely during COVID. I mean, didn't have nothing else to do when you're locked. I was right back to where I was, with my leg stuck in the house here, locked down from everything. Everything's closed up. So uh, I started having this dream that I was driving across this bridge, big bridge, and it was changing colors. So that was part one of the dream. The next part, I was in this horse and buggy going on like a guided tour. And then, of course, the next part, I had a house with a pool in the backyard and all that. So, out of curiosity, one day I started looking up for these kind of things. Now, a house with a pool, that's easy to find. That could be anywhere. But I looked up Harbor Bridge in Corpus Christi, Texas. And if you pull that up and look Harbor Bridge at night, you'll see that it's this big multicolored bridge. And I mean, I was like, well, okay. They won't have a horse and buggy though, no way. But then I typed in white horse, tours Corpus Christi. They had an actual white horse and buggy that takes you around, and tours you around the town. I was like, holy shit.
Oh wow.
I was like, here it is again. So in my mind, my my dreams are telling me again, you know, your story isn't done yet. Your next part's going to be Corpus Christi, Texas. Now, getting there, that's going to be that's what the challenge is right now. Because again, you got to remember, I was planning on being out of here. If that lawyer had done what he was supposed to do and filed my paperwork correctly and on time, and I had won what I thought I was going to get, I was
Right.
going to use that back pay money to be able to put on a down payment on a house in Texas. I
Right.
would have already been out of here. But now, I didn't get my total and permanent till, February of this year. And by the time I got that, looking around at what interest rates are now, and again, the house I have now is only about 3% interest. So everything I'm looking at now in Texas is 7%, 7.5%. And where their houses are, I mean, you should see three and $400,000 and $500,000 houses in Texas. I mean, I hear they'd easily be $8, $9 million homes. But still, when you're paying 3% as opposed to 7%, that's an extra $1,000 to $1,200 a month that you're just handing off to a banker. And that translates into, add that up every year,
That's
you
horrible.
know.
Yeah. That's got to
So
change.
it has to. And the thing that angers me the most is we had this under control until, you know, President Biden and his stooges rigged
The
things,
resident.
to get him where he is, installed him like a toilet, you know. So now,
Well,
now it's a
yeah,
waiting game that hopefully, from all the forecasts I'm looking at as far as rates and everything goes, they're hoping things will drop in a year and a half. And if I got to wait that long, it's I can only imagine what the state of California is going to come up with in the next year and a half. That's just going to make me wake up and go, well, they've done it again. I didn't think they
right.
could get any crazier, but here they go. They've done it
Yeah,
again.
we're in for the show, but I hope it's going to change much more quickly than that. You know, I well, this isn't about my opinions about what I've learned, but I think it's going to resolve in 23 before 2-4.
Well, we've only
We'll
got about
see.
we've got about 3.5 months left, so we'll see who's right. But I
Yeah.
don't think
Oh,
it's going to get
yeah.
resolved until this next election, and until he is soundly defeated, and we get who should have been president now. We get him back in there to put us back on the right path.
That's exactly what I was talking
And I
about.
mean,
They've
all these
Well,
people that
let's
sit
not get into
around.
politics.
Well, the thing is, though,
we can do that on our other channel. We can
well, if
talk
we want to
about
tie it together, though,
the
Trump did put hemp in the farm bill. So I mean, and there's no doubt about it. If he was in there, I think he's going to legalize it too. So I
I
mean,
think so too. I think 100% that he was going to legalize medical marijuana, and I believe, and a lot of people believe that all use is medical. The first time I used it, it wasn't such a sophisticated thought, but I knew that was my medicine.
yep.
I wanted to have more, and it
Well,
wasn't like a craving. It wasn't like heroin. It was just, oh, I like that. you
there's
know
definitely a medicinal, and there's also a very spiritual use to it. And what blew my mind a lot of times is when James
yes.
Benno and I would go to, different town halls, and I would always love it when a preacher would stand up and say, well, I'm opposed to this, and God doesn't want people doing drugs. And then I'd get up there and say, sir, you've never heard of Sula Bennett. She's a Polish etymologist that, studied all this. And actually, the sacred oil that they use, you know, to
Yep.
bless the new kings of Israel with
Yeah.
was canna oil.
Yep.
The aroma in the holiest of holies was, what do you think they're burning in there? Come on, man. So
That.
it's a very medicinal, it's a very spiritual plant, and I mean the fact that it's still outlawed in so many places just baffles me, and that's one of the main concerns I
Well,
have
why?
about.
Why is it, Sean? Because they're trying to make money off of us in pharmacy.
Well, they want us to stay
Because
on big pharma. Big pharma hasn't found a way that they can actually capitalize on it, because they tried to make THC pills and whatnot.
yep,
Nobody wanted that. Why get them THC pills when I can just grow this myself?
you don't
I
have
can.
to touch it. You don't have to change it into
I
something
don't
else
need.
because
I
it's
don't need a middleman. I don't need the government getting into it. I can do this myself. I can take
damn
care of
self.
myself, and that's what the thing is. They don't want you to take care of yourself. They want to take care of you
Yeah,
their way. And if you see what's
exactly.
going on in places like Canada when you let the government take care of you, next thing you know, you'll be getting a call from the maid. And I don't mean the maid that's going to tuck you in at night and, change your sheets. I mean their maid service, which is their maid service is they're going to kill you. Look up maid service in Canada if y'all
Oh
want to know
wow,
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I never heard that, but I
Yeah.
looked at it a bit. Yeah.
I'm in a lot of vets groups, and there's a lot of veterans who post things that I see, and I've had veterans in Canada and I want y'all listeners to listen to this now. There's a veteran in Canada who, for years, was trying to get a wheelchair ramp built into his house. Now, when they passed this MAID program up there, you know, he was still calling. The best we can do is kill you. They wouldn't build his ramp, but they'd offer him assisted suicide. That's the government's answer for taking care of you.
Because the
And
bean counters,
yeah, they
guess
don't they
what?
don't want to count your beans anymore. It's a whole lot cost effective for them to eliminate drains on what they
Right.
see as drains on the old dole. You know,
Yep.
so their answer every time, and people laughed at Sarah Palin when she said there'd be death panels. Look at Canada now. Nobody's laughing because it's actually happening. And all them out
Right.
there that want government run health care and all this and that, listen to what I've been telling you, what I've been going through the past 20 years. And imagine that's you, imagine that's somebody in your family that you care about. And this is what government health care is going to do for them.
Don't go there.
Don't
We
go.
just can't.
Nope.
We
So, but then
just
again,
can't.
that gets me to Texas, and this is going to be again. This is why I think I'm supposed to go there. It's still very archaic laws there. No medical, no legalization. They've got very little uh, leeway as far as when it goes to like THC oils or CBD oils, things of that nature.
Right.
But it's very very strict. Uh, any of their oils that can't have any THC in it at all, hardly, maybe 1-2%. It's so with everything I know and not being hurt or in pain now, I think I could get there and be very effective. The thing is, it's going to be a whole different animal than what we were used to out here in California. Out here, we're used to ballot initiatives, you know, people banding together all across the state in different
Right.
areas and, getting signatures signed and all that and getting things on the ballot.
And our elders, Dennis Perone and Jack Hare, had done a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
front leg work that, it has to
Right.
be done in Texas now.
Well, in Texas, it's going to be different because there's no ballot initiatives in Texas. They're not a ballot initiative state.
That's
Everything,
interesting.
everything comes out of Austin. So it's going to be a lot more lobbying, a lot more diplomatic approach, a lot more, getting to know the lawmakers there in different areas, really winning hearts and minds. That's the way to really get them to go along with this thing.
Right.
So
Well, you're good at all of those things, so that's certainly a possibility, but the universe
what I
says
want to
not yet.
be.
So maybe you still have a couple things to do here in the North State. You don't know.
Well, maybe. I mean, who knows? I am starting to like this podcast thing. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But
We're going to do more, Sean. We're going to do more. Last Scout Radio. We're just saying hi. And you had some friends that you had asked you some questions. Do you want to take a look at some of those questions?
sure, let's go.
Let's see if I can get that. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you said if people, you asked the people what things they might like to hear you address.
Right.
So go ahead and start.
Okay. Well, good friend of mine from the Army, my Sergeant Chastity Cloud, which, hey, Cloudy, Aftershocks happening again this year. Aftershocks, a big metal concert. Anyway, I'll bite. Youth insensitivity, their inability to grow a pair and hold themselves accountable. If the children are our future, we are fooled. Couldn't say that word because Cloudy, this is a family show now. You're gonna get me in trouble. We're not gonna be able to use any of this. But to answer your question, and yeah, this is a big issue I see happening today. Everybody is just so eager from the moment they wake up to find something to be offended about, to sit there and cry about it like it's the worst thing in the world that's ever happened to them. You know, make this big case about, oh, I got misgendered or mispronounced or, oh, I don't feel validated today. Listen, nobody, it's not my job to validate you. It's your job to validate you. If you're looking for external things to make you feel good about yourself, you're never going to stop, looking for things, and you're never going to get the answers you want. The only answers you can find to really find happiness, I found, is finally finding peace within who you are and yourself, you know. And I mean, if somebody came up to me and said, I'm Julius Caesar, I demand you treat me as such, we'd all agree that person is nuts, you know. If somebody stood up and said, I'm Mahatma Gandhi, I demand to be treated as such, we'd agree they're nuts. Why is it when somebody says, oh, I'm gonna chop my dick and balls off and I demand you treat me like a woman, we're supposed to turn what? Okay, yeah, okay, ma'am, sure. No. I mean, this is just insanity that we're seeing today. And I mean, again, uh, they're being taught this at a very young age. Our education system is what's doing this to people. And there's a reason they're doing this and why they're starting young. And it gets me back to what I was talking about, the last time. But if you look at the last time we were all really unified as a people, I mean, there was 9/11, sure. Then there was Occupy Wall Street when the right and the left, the Tea Party on the right, Occupy on the left. We're finally starting to notice that, hey, look, we need to come together because these people are robbing us blind. And then the very next thing you see happen is, it isms and phobias and ist start being pumped daily, not just by the news, but by people in power. And now they've got everybody so dumbed down they don't know what a man or a woman is. And we're arguing over stupid stuff while they're still running away and escaping with more money and more power. I mean, look at somebody like Jeffrey Epstein and his client or his flight list. That's not been released to anybody. They're not telling us anything about this, but now they're even coming out, oh, look, aliens. They're distracting us with so many other things and not giving us the answers. They're just sitting back and letting us, parrot each other. And all this is being done in our education purposely to dumb us down because people in a populace that's more dumbed down, they're more easy to be led and they're more easy to control. So that's got to start at home, though. And a lot of parents, you've got to pay more attention to what's going on at your kids' schools. And if they're teaching any of this craziness, and it breaks my heart, so many of them are across the country now, are teaching this gender theory, this critical race theory, teaching kids to hate their country, hate themselves. You got to speak up. If you don't wait for somebody else to do it. If I had kids, I would have already spoke up by now. I don't. This has got to be something you all have got to stand up and make your voices heard on. Anyway, and that kind of ties into our next one here. Andrew Johnson. Hey, what up, cuz? This is my cousin. A lot of crazy times growing up with this boy, let me tell you. Address the fact that children are being sexually exploited by liberals in our schools. They put much more emphasis on pushing their liberal agenda than educating students. We have middle school age kids and even some adults that can't even spell pubic library. All right, that's an inside joke between me and him. But I mean, again, this gets back to what I was saying, and he's right. And it's not just the indoctrination things that they're pushing on our kids to keep us dumbed down. They're doing more than that. When you look at what they're destroying and what they're teaching kids with this critical race theory to hate their country, there's a reason why they're doing that too. Now, you can go back to the Greek culture and Troy and all the heroes and myths and legends that the Greeks had around that time. And what they do, they conquered the world. You can look at Rome, all the heroes and myths of Rome. And what did Rome do? Rome conquered the world. And then you can look at the next superpowers of Europe. You can look at France, England, and then over the centuries, they started building up their own myths, legends, heroes. And then what they do, they conquered the world. So,
well, those were stories to grow into. They were
but they're also
told and retold,
and they're ideals to strive for as a people. See,
yes.
people seem to they don't really seem to grasp that what unites a people is more than just their skin color or the same language they speak. It's their beliefs, it's their constant the things that define them as a people. It's their myths, it's their legends, it's their heroes. It's the best things about their culture and about their people that all of them should strive for and be. And if you go in and you destroy these things and you take them away from a people, if you take them away from a culture, then who are these people? They have no history anymore. They have no culture. They have no heroes. They have no myths. They have no legends. They're they're easily led sheep, and that's how the government
their culture is gone.
That's how the government wants all of us. They want us all to have no culture, no history. They want us to live in the pod, eat the bugs, and that's it. They want to be the ones that write history, that do everything, while they keep us as their serfs that till their fields and fill up their cars and all that. So again, this gets back to parents. You've got to get in your schools. You've got to pay attention to what's going on to you with your kids' education, and you've got to say something. You've got to stand up and say something if something you don't agree with is happening, and you got to get with other like-minded people, and you got to do something about it. You can't just expect Superman to swoop in and save you, because that ain't going to happen. You got to be your own Superman. You got to go in there and do something. Next question. This is from Cord Bowers, good buddy of mine from the military. Since we're mentioning kids, how about parents and their inability to discipline children due to the overwhelming fear of CPS, DHS, whatever it's called in your area, taking children? or call it what it is, legal child trafficking. How anyone has not spoken out against CPS DHS has been unalived. Wow. And how about school interference with parent-child relations, where the school is allowing counselors to assist with getting children started in the transition without parental consent? And we touched on this one a little bit earlier, Marcia, and this is definitely a big thing that's happening in California. I mean, there's not a day that goes by, not a day that goes by that I do not see them pushing some other kind of crazy law, like the one we talked about earlier, where parents who do not go along with their kids' gender identity, the state can come in and take those kids from you. And
It's crazy.
he brings up a good point though. He brings up how CHS or Child Protective Services is involved in child trafficking. Now this I'd never thought about, but I'd never really connected the dot. I mean, when
Oh,
they
that's
take
another show.
yeah, but just to
And it's
kind of touch
hard.
on it, just to touch
Yeah,
on it though, because he did bring it up, and I got to try to answer it. And
I believe that.
it goes back to the Sign to Freedom, and that was a great movie. But when they
Yes.
take your kids, what are they going to do with your kids? I mean, there's not some big orphanage where they just dump them off to anymore. They find people and go stick them wherever they want to stick them. So who knows who could be wind up getting your kids? You know, but that's a very good point. Very good point. Thank you for that, Cord. Okay, next one. And this is a brother and sister, very good friends of mine that I grew up with there on the island, Casey Johnson and Rob Johnson. And uh, Casey's was the system and its corruptness, especially for the middle class blue collar workers, and how we are taxed literally to death. And then Rob brings up the legal systems, police brutality on everyone, every race, all walks of life, all over the U.S. and especially out here. And also shout out your hometown. Show us some love and mention Accomack County, Virginia. Rob, I show Shinkatig love all the time, buddy. I miss it there. I really do. And like I said earlier, you guys, man, you all are good people. Every single one of you back there. I miss you. I really do. I can't wait to come home and hang out with y'all. And for a fact, I know how corrupt, you know, Virginia's legal system is. Because, like I said, I was on probation for a few years before I could get in the army. And it shouldn't have been a few years, but every time they like coming up with new and new ways just to screw you to keep you in their system. And that again, that gets back to what I was talking about. That's where they want everybody. They want everybody dependent and locked into their
Everybody.
system. That way they can control you. That's the way they want every single one of us. Every single one of us. And then they want us taxed to death because, well, all that money that they take from us, oh, it's got to go to Ukraine to fight Putin now. Before it had to go fight the boogeymen in the caves and Saddam. And now, see how the U.S. always needs a boogeyman, always needs a reason to dip their hands in your pockets, send it money to overseas. But they won't do nothing to help the people in Maui who just lost everything in wildfires. In fact, Biden will take 2 weeks before he goes there. When he does show up, he'll fall asleep and then he'll say something. Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna send you all $700 checks. $700 after your house, everything you owned, family members probably dead, kids missing somewhere, the dog's burnt to a crisp. $700. Yeah, that'll make it all so much better. You
Shows what we're worth, Sean.
That's what they think of
To
us.
them.
That's exactly what they
To
think
them.
of us. Well, and it gets back to this too, Marcia. And I didn't really say this earlier, but do you know? I mentioned I get special monthly compensations for my injury, right? One of those special monthly compensations is loss of use of a creative organ. Do you know what the VA deems that in monetary value?
No.
$50 a month.
That's an insult.
Yeah. Your loss of the ability to have children, we see that as only being worth 50 extra dollars a month. Here you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, Rob, buddy, I get you. The system is completely broken, and it's broken for all of us. But this is their game too. They want to play it as it's a white versus black thing, you know, and that's why they're pumping so much racism in the media, is because they want to keep those fires stoked. Because the more we're fighting, you know, just because our skin color is different, the more they're going to keep making rules and laws to enslave all of us. When really, every single one of us, especially if you're a poor white person, a poor black person, a poor Indian, a Native American, a poor Asian person, a poor Latin person. All of us have more in common with each other when it boils down to it. We all have more in common with each other than any of us ever will with those millionaires and billionaires in their ivory towers. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. We all know what it's like to be
Yes.
poor, what it's like to suffer, what it's like to struggle, what it's like to be, you know, they don't. And it scares them more than anything that all of us would finally band together and say enough of this shit. But that's exactly what needs to happen, or nothing's going to change. They're just going to keep doing this. It's a big club, and we're not in it, so we need to use a big club, push all of them out. So, and then Casey, we're kind of scrolling real quick here, but to touch on yours a little bit, the middle class, our middle class is non-existent. It's pretty much gone, and that's all by design too. They want us all poor. They want us all. If you don't have anything, and you're working 2, 3 jobs just to put food
Right.
on the table,
If it takes everything you got to keep roof over your head,
you don't
food in the
have
belly, you
you
don't
don't
have
have
nothing.
you don't have time to get out there and demand change. If you're working 2, 3 jobs, you don't have time to get out there and demand, hey, we need some things. This is not the way it's supposed to get. Why do you think the left is so effective when they protest? A lot of people on the left are on them government handouts already, or they're getting outside money from outside sources, you know, so they can keep roofs over their head or whatnot. But a lot of us, real people, and I mean anybody who's an actual real American that loves this country, that works and it does what they're supposed to do. They know we don't have time to get out there and do any of that. So that's why these leftist communists, globalists right now appear to be, gaining traction. But the silent majority isn't so silent. We've had enough. We've woken up to their games. We know what's happening now. A lot of us are awake. If you're not
Yes,
awake
we
by
are.
now, if you're not awake by now, I don't know what to tell you, because everything they said about Trump, every single thing they said about him, that he was a fascist, that he was this, and this. Look what Biden did day one when he got sworn in. He did it under military presence, under barbed wire. It doesn't get much more fascist than that, folks. And
At
everything he
all.
said since then, when he declared war on, when he stood there in Philadelphia behind all those red lights, looking like the the evil president from from Vendetta, and and declared war on MAGA and MAGA Americans. That's fascism, folks. And if you want the real definition of fascism, Italian fascism is the merger of corporations with the merger of government. Now, honestly, sit back and look. What sides merged with corporations right now? Which sides enslaved us? Real answer is it's two sides of the same coin. That uniparty coin. Because the Rhine